Well, now, bless your heart. You ever just feel like the whole wide world settling right down on your shoulders? Like you've got so many plates spinning in the air, you just know they're all about to come crashing down.
Oh, absolutely. You were preaching to the choir. It's like, you woke up with a plan, maybe for the garden, getting canning jars ready, thinking about that community supper.
Yeah, a perfectly good plan.
Exactly.
Mm.
And then suddenly the tractor breaks down or the phone just starts ringing off the hook and little Billy tracks mud all through the house. It just piles up faster than kudzu sometimes, doesn't it?
It surely does. And, folks talk about the big decisions in life, but I think it's the sheer volume, just the number of little ones that really gets you.
Mm-hmm.
They say the average person is making something like over 1,600 decisions every single day.
1,600. Wow.
Think about that. It ain't just pondering life's big mysteries, or whether to plant tomatoes or squash this year. It's figuring out the quickest route to fetch the kids from school out on Highway 52, deciding what's for supper with folks going this way and that, remembering to call Mama like you promised.
Getting the trash cans out on Wednesday morning.
Yes. Before the truck comes, making sure the grass don't get so shaggy you hear the neighbors whispering. It's just this relentless, never-ending stream of tasks and decisions.
And that stream, it doesn't just stay out there on the porch or on the to-do list, does it? It flows right inside, settles in your mind, weighs down your spirit. It creates this really heavy feeling.
It truly does. And that heavy feeling, that sense of being completely swamped, well, that's what we're fixing to do a deep dive into today.
Okay.
We've got some mighty powerful source material in front of us, actually. Something a bit unexpected, I'd wager. It's from a fellow named Andrew Bustamante.
Bustamante, right.
Now, Andrew used to work for the CIA.
The CIA. Okay, that's interesting.
Yes, that's CIA. And you might hear that and think, good gracious, what could spycraft possibly have to do with managing my Tuesday? But stick with us, because his insights, they offer a truly unique lens on this everyday overwhelm we all face.
So he's taking methods from, like, high-stakes intelligence work.
Exactly. Methods refined in situations where the stakes are just unimaginable, way, way more stressful than trying to find matching socks on laundry day or getting the cows in before dark, and he's offering them up as tools for our ordinary lives.
Okay, I'm intrigued because that feeling of overwhelm is so common.
It is.
So at the very core of what Mr. Bustamante discusses is this concept he calls task saturation.
Task saturation.
Yeah. Now, that term might sound a bit technical, maybe like something you'd read in a government report, but its meaning is blessedly simple. It's just that state where you have more tasks demanded your attention than you feel capable of handling effectively all at the same time.
Right. You're just full of overloaded.
Exactly. And the danger of being in that state, according to this source material, is pretty profound. When you become task-saturated, it's not just a feeling.
No.
No, it actually impairs your ability to think clearly. Your cognitive ability, they call it, just goes down, like trying to see through muddy water.
Okay.
You become stressed. Naturally, you get anxious. And maybe the most frustrating part is you end up with that feeling of unproductive success.
Unproductive success. Say more about that. That's a powerful phrase.
Isn't it? Think about your busiest days. You were running around, weren't you? Putting out fires, answering emails, tending to folks, shuttling here and yonder.
Constantly moving.
Right, you were doing things, amounting to things. But at the end of it all, you sink into your chair and think, what in the world did I actually accomplish?
Yeah, you feel exhausted, but like you didn't actually move the needle on anything important.
Exactly. You were busy, yes, success in the sense of being active, but it felt hollow, unproductive. You were just spinning your wheels, not building anything solid. And that, the source points out, creates a powerfully negative mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you you're falling short, that you're not cutting the mustard, even when you're working yourself ragged, trying your very best.
Ain't that the truth? It feels like you're pouring out all your energy, but the bucket's got a hole in it.
Yeah.
Just feeling bogged down, overwhelmed, and then that frustration just compounds.
It really does.
But the promise here, the real treasure buried in this CIA fella's thinking, is that he offers simple, actionable methods.
Okay, actionable. That's good.
These ain't complicated theories that'll make your head spin faster than a tornado siren. They are practical, tried and true rules, refined in the crucible of intense situations like being in the foreign field, relying on folks you can't fully trust, operating under constant threat.
Wow.
Rules designed specifically for when your brain is fighting against you, when you're under the gun, so to speak, and complex thought just isn't available.
Yeah, methods designed for reliable application even when you're in a state of confusion or fear or just plain exhaustion.
Right.
And what we're fixing to do is unpack these rules, lay them out like a map, see how they apply, not just in some hypothetical spy movie scenario with car chases and secret codes.
Definitely not that.
No. But right here in your kitchen, trying to get supper on the table, or on your commute down Highway 111, or when you're staring at a pile of paperwork down at the county office in Livingston.
So practical stuff.
Practical, down-to-earth tools for navigating the busyness of modern life, drawn from the most unlikely of places. It just goes to show you that wisdom can be found in unexpected corners, a little like finding a four-leaf clover in the pasture.
I like that. Okay, well now let's unpack this, like peeling an onion layer by layer. Section 1 gets down to the foundational stuff, talking about what truly matters in this context. Our source talks about 3 essential resources.
That's right. According to this framework, when you're operating, whether that's on a foreign street corner or your own living room, there are 3 fundamental things you're working with: energy, time, and money.
Energy, time, and money. Okay, simple enough. Help us understand what the source says about each of those.
Well, the source points out something that seems, blessedly simple on its face, but has profound implications.
Mm-hmm.
You can always, theoretically, create more energy.
Okay, how so?
Maybe you need a good night's sleep or a few quiet moments in your easy chair, or just a good hot cup of coffee or sweet tea.
Yeah.
You can replenish your energy.
Right, recharge the batteries.
Exactly. The same goes for money. Now, Lord knows that can be a struggle sometimes, especially around here when times are tight and it takes hard work and faith. But you can, in theory, always work more hours, earn more, find new avenues to generate more money. It's a resource that can be increased.
That makes good sense. If your pickup truck's running low on gas, you can always go fill the tank up. If your checking account's looking a little lean, you can always look for ways to earn more or spend less. You've got options to add to it.
Precisely. You can create more of both energy and money. But time. Time is the outlier.
The odd one out.
It's the singular resource you can never, ever create more of. Every second that ticks by on the old grandfather clock in the hall, every minute that slips through your fingers while you're caught in traffic or stuck in a meeting, is gone forever.
Wow, gone.
It's constantly diminishing. It's always counting down, relentlessly rolling forward like the river flowing toward the sea.
And that puts a powerful pressure on a person, doesn't it? That relentless tick-tock. It makes you feel anxious, like you're always chasing after something you can never catch, always behind the 8 ball. It's that feeling of, I don't have enough time.
It surely does. It's the feeling you get when you see the rain clouds gathering and you still have half the hayfield to cut. The clock and the weather are just relentless.
But here's where it gets really interesting, according to the source. It's a counterintuitive idea, something that might make you pause and think.
Go on.
The very same time that makes you anxious, that feels like this heavy weight pressing down on you, is actually your most valuable asset in this framework.
Wait, the thing making me anxious is my biggest asset. How does that work?
Right, it seems backwards.
What's truly fascinating here is this perspective shift that Bustamante presents. Instead of viewing time just as the thing that's running out, the source encourages you to see it as your most concrete, your most undeniable, your most objective tool.
That's attractive. How?
It's a fixed point in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. You can argue with whether you have enough energy or money. Those can fluctuate. But you cannot argue with how much time has passed or how much time a specific task takes. It's just factual.
So recognizing time's fixed nature, that you can't add to it, you can't slow it down, you can't store it up like preserves in a jar, that very recognition is actually key to leveraging it effectively in managing your tasks.
That's the idea.
It sounds backwards at first, like embracing the thing that makes you most anxious, but I can see the wisdom in it. It's a bit like accepting the boundaries God gives us in life, trusting that He's given us enough for the day so we can then work within those boundaries effectively.
Precisely. It's acknowledging reality exactly as it is, not as we wish it were, not complaining about the limits, but working with them. And that clear-eyed acceptance of time's nature is the absolutely essential first step towards understanding how to use that resource effectively, especially when you're feeling swamped.
Oh, okay. All right. So we've talked about task saturation, that feeling of being overwhelmed and ineffective, and how time is our most valuable but non-renewable resource. Got it. Now, let's dig into section 2, which gives us a powerful tool right from the get-go. Understanding and preventing task saturation with this subtract 2 rule.
Right. Let's revisit that definition of task saturation real quick, just to keep it fresh in our minds.
Good idea.
It's having more tasks demand in simultaneous attention than you feel you can competently handle, leading to decreased cognitive ability. Your brain just slows down and gets fuzzy, increased stress and anxiety, that maddening feeling of unproductive success we discussed.
Right, that spinning wheels feeling.
And an overall negative mindset that tells you you're not doing enough or you're not capable.
And the source makes it abundantly clear, this ain't some exotic problem only faced by spies in the foreign field. This is the bread and butter of everyday life for most folks right here in Overton County. Whether you're on the farm, working at the factory out by the bypass, teaching Sunday school, running a small business up on the square.
Or just trying to keep the household running smooth. Absolutely. We all hit that wall of overwhelm.
We do.
But here's the prevention strategy. The CIA's simple rule of thumb designed specifically to keep you from ever reaching that saturated state in the first place.
Okay, I'm ready. How do we prevent it?
It's deceptively simple, almost too simple at first listen. However many tasks you honestly think you can confidently carry out simultaneously, you subtract 2.
Subtract 2. Okay, let me make sure I'm hearing that right. You think you can juggle, say, 5 things, and the rule says only commit to 3.
That's exactly right. It sounds like you're doing less work, doesn't it? But that's the genius of it, the counterintuitive wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
The source gives straightforward examples to make it concrete. If you reckon, in your heart of hearts, that you can handle maybe 7 different things demanding your attention right now, perhaps you're trying to answer emails on your phone, talk to a coworker, supervise a task, think about a meeting later, pay a bill online, remember to pick up something from the store, and maybe half listen to this deep dive.
Which sounds like a normal Tuesday afternoon for many people.
Exactly. The rule says, nope, back it down, only commit to 5 of those, just 5.
Just 5. Okay, so you deliberately choose not to do 2 of the things you think you could do, even if you feel capable.
Precisely. And the rule goes further. If you honestly assess your capacity and think you can only juggle maybe 3 simultaneous things right now, say you're just trying to make dinner, help one kid with homework, and maybe fold a basket of laundry before someone needs a specific shirt. This rule says, cut down to just 1. Focus on one thing.
Just one. Man, my initial reaction is, that feels slow. Like you're intentionally not being as productive as you could be. Like you're leaving potential on the table.
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It goes against that modern push to multitask, to always be maximized in every second. But that's where the real power is.
Okay, explain the power.
The rationale here, the profound benefit, is that by deliberately reducing the number of simultaneous tasks you're engaged in, you're not necessarily doing less overall work throughout the day. What you are doing is strategically choosing to do less at the exact same moment. And what that does is it dramatically increases your available resources, your focus, your mental energy, your presence for the fewer tasks you are engaged with.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light. So instead of spreading your limited resources thin across too many things, you're concentrating them. You're pouring more of yourself, more of your limited brain power into each task you are doing.
Exactly. You're giving that task the attention it deserves. And what happens when you pour more focused attention and energy into a task?
You probably do it better, faster.
You're far more effective. You're more productive with each individual task. You do it better. You probably do it faster because you're not switching gears constantly. And you make fewer mistakes.
Okay, it's like trying to carry too many bags of groceries from the truck into the house all at once. You stuff your arms full, you're off balance, something's liable to get dropped, the eggs might get crushed. It's a struggle.
Right.
It's far better to make 2 trips. It might take a little longer overall in terms of steps, but you get everything in safe and sound, nothing broken, and you don't throw your back out.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the source talks about how this focused approach builds powerful momentum.
Momentum, okay.
When you successfully complete a task, even a small one that you gave your full attention to, you get a little boost, don't you? It feels good. Like you checked something off the list, made real progress.
Yeah, that little dopamine hit of completion.
Exactly. And that success on one task, that feeling of accomplishment, it doesn't just stop there. It spills over. It builds positive energy, giving you momentum for the next thing you need to do.
In that momentum, that sense of progress, it naturally fosters a very positive mindset and a very positive attitude. I can certainly see that. Instead of feeling scattered, overwhelmed, and ineffective, you feel capable. You feel like you're moving forward, like you're making a dent in that mountain.
Precisely. Contrast that positive cycle with the negative spiral of task saturation. When you're saturated, you feel overwhelmed, you feel unproductive, you feel like you're drowning in the sheer volume of things.
It just feeds itself.
Right. And that feeling just creates more stress, more anxiety, and more negative thinking about your own abilities.
Right.
This subtract 2 rule is a powerful proactive step you take before you hit that wall.
So it's preemptive.
It's not about being lazy or avoiding work. It's about being strategic. It's about working smarter, using your resources wisely so you can build that positive momentum and keep your head clear enough to think straight. It's about bringing order to potential chaos, much like the Spirit of God hovering over the waters in creation.
All right, so that's the prevention side of things. Assess what you think you can do, then subtract 2. It's a discipline, for sure. But what happens when, despite our best efforts and intentions, you do get task saturated? Because, let's be honest, living life, especially around here with all the responsibilities God has given us, things come at you fast. It's bound to happen sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Section 3 talks about overcoming that state once you're in it with something the source calls operational prioritization.
That's absolutely true. Life throws curveballs, doesn't it? Unexpected hardships crop up, emergencies happen, the kids get sick, the truck breaks down on the side of the road. Even with the best prevention strategies, task saturation is sometimes unavoidable, particularly in demanding environments. So when you find yourself deep in that water, feeling overwhelmed and stuck, the focus shifts. It's no longer about preventing it, it's about recovering from it effectively.
Okay, so you're deep in it. You feel like you're underwater, metaphorically speaking, with 100 things pulling you down. Everything feels urgent and your brain feels like a clogged drain. What's the very first step you have to take, according to this framework?
According to the source, the absolutely crucial first step when you realize your task saturated is acceptance.
Acceptance. Just give up on the list. Throw in the towel. That sounds passive.
Not give up on everything entirely, no.
Yeah.
It's more profound than that.
Yeah.
It means accepting the current reality of the situation without trying to pretend it's not happening or wishing it away or beating yourself up about it. It means accepting that you are, in that very moment, in a state of task saturation. And critically, it means accepting that you will not be able to accomplish all the tasks you initially intended to carry out in the time frame you originally planned.
So you have to let go of the perfect plan, the ideal outcome for that moment. That's hard.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And that can be incredibly hard, can it? Especially for folks who are diligent, who like to have things neat and tidy, who feel a deep responsibility to finish what they start. It goes against that natural inclination.
It really does.
But this acceptance is presented as not just helpful, but vital. You cannot move forward effectively if you're still gripping tightly to a plan or an expectation that has already crumbled under the weight of overwhelm. You have to acknowledge the current state of affairs before you can change it. It's like knowing you're lost before you can ask for directions.
Okay, that makes sense. You accept you're saturated. You accept that you're not getting it all done right now, today. Then what? How do you decide what to even look at next when everything feels like it's screaming for attention?
Then comes step 2, the action phase after acceptance. Operational prioritization.
Operational prioritization. Okay.
This is the structured method for deciding exactly what to do next, how to keep moving forward effectively and strategically, even while you're swimming in overwhelm.
And with that mountain of things still looming, how in the world do you decide which tiny piece to pick up? Your brain is already working slow, remember?
This is where time comes back into the picture, but now, not as a source of anxiety, but as your primary tool for prioritizing when you're already deep in task saturation.
Okay, time is a tool.
The source says time is your best friend in this situation because it's utterly undeniable. It's completely objective. You can't argue with the clock on the wall. You can't argue with the fact that folding one towel takes less time than mowing the entire back 40 acres.
Right, it's just a fact.
It's a concrete, simple truth you can anchor onto when your mind is fuzzy.
Time as your best friend. In a moment of intense pressure and anxiety, that's still a concept that takes a minute to settle in the soul.
Think of it this way. When you're stressed, when you're saturated, your brain isn't functioning at its peak. Complex analysis, weighing pros and cons, comparing the long-term impact of different tasks, that's all difficult when you're overwhelmed.
Yeah, your higher thinking just shuts down.
Exactly. You need something simple, something concrete, something undeniable to grab onto, and time is that concrete truth. So the core question used in operational prioritization, the question that cuts through the mental fog, is Blessedly simple, almost elementary in its form.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the question?
What is the next task that I can carry out in the shortest amount of time?
What is the next task that I can carry out in the shortest amount of time? That's it. That's the big secret. That's the CIA method for navigating overwhelm.
That's precisely it. The source, Mr. Bustamante, calls it simple, stupid, basic. And that's precisely why it is so profoundly effective, especially when your cognitive abilities are decreased by stress and anxiety.
Because it's simple.
Its simplicity and its undeniable truth. The fact that some tasks can undeniably be done faster than others make it a reliable guide when complicated thought is out the window. It forces your focus onto an immediate actionable step, something you can actually do right now.
So instead of looking at the whole overwhelming list, the mountain of despair, you just scan it. Or just think about what's right in front of you and identify the quickest, simplest thing you can knock out, the lowest hanging fruit.
Exactly. You're not trying to solve everything at once. You're just trying to make one small piece of progress.
Okay.
And the source details the beautiful positive cycle of recovery this starts. By focusing on that next fastest thing, that quick win, you start to gain momentum.
Momentum again.
Right. You knock one small thing off the list, like making that quick phone call you've been dreading,
Yeah.
or sending that one short email, or just putting that one dish in the dishwasher. Then you look for the next fastest one. You start reducing your total number of tasks little by little, one quick step at a time.
And that must chip away at that feeling of being buried, right? Like you're actually making progress.
It does. And it builds back some of that lost confidence. You start feeling capable again. You shift your focus from the overwhelming, impossible whole to manageable, achievable parts.
Right.
It's a lot like when you're faced with a huge mess to clean up after, say, a leaky pipe in the basement. Looking at the whole flooded room is paralyzing, isn't it?
Totally paralyzing. You don't know where to start.
But if you just focus on getting that one bucket of water out, then wiping down that one wet spot, then moving that one damp box, you start making visible progress. And that tiny bit of progress fuels you, gives you the energy and the heart to keep going on the next piece.
That makes profound sense. It's about breaking down the impossibility into a series of tiny, possible actions. It's bringing order one piece at a time, much like building a stone wall, one rock at a time.
Yes, and that's how you start to reverse that state of task saturation and get yourself back onto solid ground, where you can think more clearly and act more effectively.
Okay, so we've got prevention, subtract two, and recovery, operational prioritization, which boils down to do the next fastest thing.
Got it.
Now, section 4 is where this gets really powerful and maybe a little intense for some folks, as it uses some high-stakes examples from the foreign field to show just how reliable this method is, and then, crucially, connects it right back to our everyday lives here in Tennessee.
These examples are certainly vivid and they drive the point home with force. The first scenario described is a hypothetical situation involving meeting a terrorist asset.
Terrorist asset. Good gracious, that's a world away from Pickett County. That definitely raises the stakes.
It surely is. Imagine the context. You're meeting with a dangerous individual somewhere far from home, maybe in a crowded market in the Middle East or a busy city in Southeast Asia like the source mentions.
Okay.
So you can't trust this person at all. They might be setting a trap. Immediate threats are very possible. They could have a bomb hidden, a gun, or have folks waiting just out of sight to ambush you as soon as you show up. The information, the secrets they might have, are incredibly valuable, maybe even life-saving for countless others, so you take the calculated risk. But the danger is palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife.
I can't even begin to imagine the pressure in that moment. You'd walk into that already feeling overwhelmed, wouldn't you? Your senses would be on high alert, hypervigilant.
Precisely. This kind of situation inherently leads to immediate, intense task saturation from the get-go. Your brain's trying to process 1,000 things at once, monitoring your surroundings for threats, listening acutely to what the asset is saying, while also trying to read their body language, remembering your cover story details, mentally calculating the quickest exit routes, managing your own fear and adrenaline.
Your brain would be absolutely swimming, completely saturated.
Totally.
So in that moment of extreme life or death saturation, what's the very first simple action, the next fastest thing, according to this method? What do you do?
The source highlights that the single next simplest task in this unbelievably stressful, complex scenario is just saying hello to the asset.
Saying hello, that seems ridiculously simple given the stakes, almost trivial.
It does, doesn't it? The source doesn't shy away from that. He calls it a simple, stupid, basic thing.
Okay.
But think about it. It only takes a second or two. It's a definable, completable action. And it starts making progress. You've initiated the meeting. You've taken that first tiny necessary step forward in the sequence of events.
Right.
It might seem insignificant in the grand scheme of the danger, but in that moment of paralyze and overwhelm, completing even that smallest, simplest task is concrete progress. You've done one thing successfully.
Okay, so you manage to say hello. Maybe your voice is steady, maybe it's trembling, but you do it. You've broken the inertia. But then the scenario escalates dramatically.
It does. Imagine just moments after you've begun the conversation, the asset unexpectedly pulls out guns.
Whoa. Okay.
Now you're not just in a dangerous situation, you're in an immediate life or death crisis.
Extreme task saturation doesn't even begin to cover the feeling there. That's pure survival instinct kicking in. Your brain just floods.
No, it's immediate, intense, overwhelming crisis mode. Your brain is flooded with adrenaline and fear. You're simultaneously thinking about fighting, fleeing, protecting yourself, maybe protecting someone else who is with you. A million instantaneous conflicting impulses and potential actions flash through your mind at once. You are profoundly task-saturated.
But according to the source, the key in that frozen moment is still the next fastest thing for survival. Is that right?
Exactly. In that split second, the immediate, undeniable priority is to protect yourself from the immediate threat of bullets. So, the fastest possible physical action you can take to reduce that immediate threat is to take cover.
Take cover? Okay.
Drop to the floor, dive behind the nearest sturdy furniture, get behind something solid that might stop a bullet.
Just get out of the direct line of fire. That's a physical action, takes maybe just a fraction of a second.
It's fast, it's simple, and the source makes the crucial point that this isn't the ultimate solution to the whole problem. You still have an armed threat.
Right. It doesn't solve everything.
But taking that fast action gives you the space and the momentum that you need to make the next decision. You've reduced the immediate threat to yourself to the best of your ability in that instant. Now, from that slightly safer position, you can perhaps think just a hair more clearly about what comes next.
And the subsequent fast actions you take from cover. What's the next fastest thing once you're behind something?
From that protected position, the source explains, the next fastest tasks involve using your senses to gather crucial information.
Information gathering, okay.
Use your ears where the shot's coming from. Are there more than one shooter? Use your eyes. Can you locate the shooter? Are they moving? Is anyone else hurt? Use your mouth if you're not alone. Call out to the other person. Are you okay? Get down.
So you're gathering critical intelligence, but through a series of rapid, simple physical and sensory actions, not complex strategic planning.
Yes. The crucial point the source emphasizes repeatedly is that in this kind of intense crisis, you are absolutely not trying to solve all the problems at once.
Right.
You're not trying to disarm the terrorist in that first second, or formulate a brilliant escape plan while bullets are flying, or be some kind of action hero making complicated tactical decisions.
Forget the movie stuff.
Exactly. You are focused entirely on making the next fastest decision to get one step closer to survival. You are breaking down the overwhelming, life-threatening situation into a series of tiny, manageable action points, reducing one less decision you have to make at a time, moment by moment.
That's incredibly powerful when you think about it. Taking a scenario of pure paralyze and chaos and breaking it down into a series of immediate, concrete, simple steps focused on the fastest possible action. It's not about being brave necessarily, it's about being effective under impossible pressure.
And here is where the connection to our everyday lives, right here in Overton County or wherever you might be listening, comes in strong and clear.
Okay, bring it home for us.
Well, thank God we don't typically deal with bombs and guns on our way to the grocery store.
Hopefully not.
We do face constant surprises and what feel like threats to our peace, our schedule, our sanity, that trigger remarkably similar feelings of overwhelm and task saturation.
Like a child having a full-blown meltdown on the floor of the Walmart right when you're trying to pay. Or the boss calling with an urgent crisis just as you're sitting down for your first peaceful moment all day.
Or opening the mailbox and finding an unexpected giant bill you didn't see coming. Or the water heater breaking and flooding the laundry room.
Yeah, those things definitely feel like threats in the moment.
Exactly. These things aren't life-threatening in the same physical way as a hostile encounter, but they feel like threats to our sense of control, our peace, our stability. And they throw us into that same overwhelmed, saturated state where our brains get fuzzy and we feel like we can't think straight, can't figure out what to do first.
You just freeze up sometimes.
Right. And the source argues powerfully that the very same simple solution, doing the next fastest, simplest thing you can do to make a tiny bit of progress or slightly improve the immediate situation, is just as effective in navigating these modern challenges and allowing you to move forward and ultimately thrive. It applies the battlefield principle to the home front.
Man, that is something to chew on, isn't it? Taking wisdom honed in the shadow of danger and applying it to the light of everyday life. From spycraft on a foreign street corner to managing supper time chaos right here in our own kitchens.
Yeah.
Now, Section 5 gets into something else we all wrestle with, something that makes task saturation even heavier, what the source calls head trash.
Ah, yes, head trash. A wonderfully descriptive term, isn't it?
It really is. We all know what that feels like.
The source defines this beautifully as all that negative self-talk that pops into your head. The self-criticism, the self-demeaning thoughts, the self-ridicule.
Like when you make a mistake, drop the casserole on the floor right before the potluck, and that little voice inside your head immediately says, "See? You're no good. You always mess things up. You should never have volunteered to bring the casserole," that kind of thing.
That is precisely the kind of insidious noise the source is talking about. It's that internal chorus of doubt and negativity.
Ugh.
And Mr. Bustamante explains why this head trash tends to flare up specifically when you're task saturated.
Okay, why then?
He says that when your rational brain gets overwhelmed, when it's hit that limit and feels like it has to give up on processing everything, it's like it gains extra capacity because it's no longer focused on the problem-solving task.
Right, throws its hands up.
But that freed up capacity doesn't just sit there idle, it gets filled. And too often, especially under stress, it gets filled with emotional thoughts instead of productive, rational ones.
So instead of your brain thinking, okay, the casserole's on the floor, how do I clean this up and what's the fastest alternative? It starts spiraling with thoughts like, I should have never even tried to cook this fancy thing, or everyone's going to be so disappointed, or I'll never be good enough to do something like this again.
Yes. It's all that unproductive, hurtful junk that floods your mind. And the source highlights how incredibly dangerous this head trash is, precisely because it doesn't just make you feel bad.
No.
It actually convinces you to stop trying. It whispers lies that make you give up on finding a solution or finishing the task. It tells you you're not capable of things that you are, in fact, perfectly capable of accomplishing.
Wow. It's actively working against you.
It leads to avoidance, procrastination, and a desire to escape the situation rather than facing the problem head on. It's a genuine internal saboteur.
It does sound a lot like the way the adversary works on us, doesn't it? Whispering lies and doubt into our minds, telling us we're defeated, we're not worthy, we're not capable, trying to get us to give up on the good work God has given us to do before we even truly fight.
It surely does have that parallel. And the source connects this deep-seated doubt, this propensity for head trash, to our very nature, our evolutionary wiring as human beings.
Our wiring.
He says we are literally wired to doubt everything.
Wired to doubt? Why in the world would we be wired that way? That seems counterproductive to thriving in today's world.
Well, think back to primitive times, living out in the wilderness, maybe seeking shelter in caves, constantly facing unseen dangers and predators.
Okay.
In that environment, doubt was a powerful, often life-saving survival mechanism, wasn't it? If you heard a rustle in the bushes, doubting that it was just the wind, and instead suspecting it might be a wild animal, kept you alert, made you cautious, ready to react or hide.
Ah, okay. Survival instinct.
That instinct to question, to assume the worst-case scenario for safety, helped keep our ancestors alive in a dangerous world.
So it was a necessary survival tool when we were running from bears or jaguars, but it's not so helpful when we're sitting at our desk trying to meet a deadline or dealing with a stack of bills. It kind of misfires now.
Exactly. We live in a vastly different modern world where those immediate physical threats are rare for most of us. A world where we need to collaborate, to trust, to move forward boldly, to create, to connect.
Right.
But that primitive, deeply ingrained instinct to doubt everything and anticipate danger still persists in our brains. It hinders our progress, feeds that cycle of negative thinking, and fuels the head trash, especially when we're already overwhelmed and feeling vulnerable.
Okay, so head trash is this constant stream of negative internal noise fueled by overwhelm and maybe even these old survival instincts that aren't serving us well anymore. How in the world do we fight something that feels so ingrained, so internal, It feels automatic sometimes.
Here is where the practical application of the next fastest thing becomes a powerful countermeasure against head trash.
How so? How does doing the fastest task fight the negative thoughts?
Engaging in that simple process of being able to do the next fastest task, that small definable action, actually serves to re-engage your rational brain.
By forcing you to focus on physical action and concrete reality instead of swirling emotional negativity, pulling
Yeah.
you out of your head.
Exactly. By deliberately choosing and completing a small, tangible task, even something as simple as standing up and putting one thing away, you create an immediate, undeniable, positive feedback loop.
A positive loop? Okay.
You prove to yourself, through action in that moment, that you are capable of something. You are not completely frozen or ineffective. You are not defined by the overwhelm or the negative thoughts.
Action beats the feeling.
This action breaks the cycle of negative emotional thinking and redirect your mental energy toward productive time. It's an action-oriented approach that directly combats the paralyzing doubt fueled by head trash. It helps you overcome that internal voice that tells you to quit, that you're not capable.
It's a bit like fighting darkness by flicking on a light switch, isn't it? The simple act of introducing light immediately dispels the shadow, even if it's just a small candle flame at first. The simple act of taking one step dispels the paralysis.
Beautifully said. It's using physical action to change your mental state. Simple, but powerful.
All right, we're heading into section 6 now, and it circles back to the core bedrock idea woven throughout this whole framework, the power of simplicity and, crucially, the necessity of practice.
This is where the source really hammers home the main takeaway, the principle that undergirds the entire approach. The simplest solution is oftentimes the best solution.
Keep it simple.
And this applies with immense power, specifically to the state of task saturation. When you're feeling that overwhelm creeping in, when your brain is fuzzy and your list is long, the command, the guiding principle, is profoundly simple. Do the next simplest thing.
Just like saying hello to the asset to start the interaction or hitting the floor immediately when the guns come out. In our everyday lives, when we feel that familiar weight of overwhelm, what are some of these simple, stupid, basic tasks that the source suggests can be our anchor?
It gives some blessedly practical examples. When you feel that overwhelm setting in, that moment of paralysis, maybe the simplest thing is just stopping what you were failing to juggle and making yourself a fresh cup of coffee or tea.
Coffee break.
Or stop and fix yourself a simple lunch. Or maybe just standing up and taking a few slow, deep breaths. Or putting away the single item that's closest to you that's out of place. Really basic stuff.
Making lunch or getting coffee, again, that feels almost counterintuitive, like a distraction when you've got a whole mountain of actual important tasks, lumens. My head trash would immediately scream, "You don't have time for that! Get back to work!"
Yes, your head trash will fight it, won't it? Because head trash wants you to stay paralyzed, to feel incapable.
Yeah.
But think about it logically as the source lays out. These are small, easily achievable tasks. They take just a few minutes.
True.
And according to the source, the act of consciously choosing and accomplishing one of these simple small things first can provide immediate tangible benefits.
Yeah.
It provides a burst of motivation. You did something.
Okay.
It gives you a little energy boost, physical and mental. It builds crucial momentum. And yes, it fosters that needed positive thinking you mentioned, that sense of capability that you can, in fact, move and act effectively.
So it breaks the paralysis.
It breaks the paralysis, the overwhelm creates and shifts your focus from the impossible whole to a manageable, completable part.
You get that small win, that little piece of progress, and it gives you the strength, the confidence, the oomph you need to tackle the next step, which might be slightly bigger, and then the step after that. It's like finding your blessings, one small, one at a time, and letting that gratitude fuel your spirit for the larger challenges.
Exactly. It shifts your focus, gets you moving, and starts the positive feedback loop. However, and this is a critical point the source is very clear about,
What's the catch?
experiencing the benefit of this approach, operational prioritization, doing the next fastest thing just once or twice, isn't enough to make it a reliable tool, a default habit.
So you can't just try it once and be cured.
No. Bustamante emphasizes that you have to drill this. You have to practice it over and over again. You can't just learn about it. You have to do it repeatedly, consciously applying it.
Not just when things are calm and easy, but specifically when you feel that pressure rising, when the overwhelm starts setting in, that's the moment to practice it. Right then.
That's the key. You have to practice it at home, at work, in the small moments and the larger ones. You have to make it a conscious part of your routine, consciously stopping yourself when you feel overwhelmed and asking that simple question: what is the next task I can carry out in the shortest amount of time? And then making yourself do that.
And the more you consciously choose that simple action, the more you practice that strategic response to overwhelm. What happens?
The more it becomes less of a conscious decision you have to struggle to make and more of a reflexive automatic response. It transforms from a learned technique into an ingrained habit.
Like muscle memory.
Exactly. And that's when, according to the source, you start behaving less like someone struggling against the tide and more like a trained operator, like the best in the world who can travel anywhere to accomplish the impossible.
So, by repeatedly choosing the simple, fastest action in the face of overwhelm, even in the small moments of daily life, you are training yourself, strengthening that mental muscle to be more effective, more resilient, more capable when the big, chaotic moments inevitably arrive. You become an expert operator in your own life, navigating the complexity with simple, powerful wisdom.
That's the promise. It's about building that muscle memory for managing overwhelm, not just knowing the theory of the steps.
Yeah.
It's putting it into practice consistently.
Well, now, ain't that something truly valuable to consider? So let's just connect the dots one more time for you listening out there. Whether you're sitting on your porch, swinging Monterey, or driving into Cookeville this morning, or working on your place up toward Allred. Wait, sorry. Ignore that local reference. That was from the other instructions. Let's just say, for everyone listening.
Right, for everyone.
These methods, developed in the most extreme circumstances imaginable by folks like Mr. Bustamante and others at the CIA, offer a remarkably simple, practical, and powerful framework for managing the very real pressures and overwhelm of our everyday lives.
The core principles are blessedly straightforward, aren't they? Acceptance, honestly, accepting that you're overwhelmed and won't get everything done right now, today.
Step 1.
Simple prioritization, based on the objective truth of time, asking, what is the next task I can carry out in the shortest amount of time?
Step 2.
Taking that next fastest step, even if it feels too small to matter.
On therapy.
The action.
And actively fighting that negative self-talk, that head trash, not by arguing with it, but by engaging in simple, forward-moving action.
It's a testament to the profound power of simplicity, really. Sometimes the answers to our biggest, most paralyzing challenges are simpler than we think they ought to be. They don't require complex strategies or brilliant insights in the moment of crisis. They just require clarity, discipline, and consistent practice.
Much like, well, like learning any skill, wouldn't you say? It's often the consistent, simple actions, daily practice, focusing on fundamentals that build real competence and resilience for when things get tough, not just waiting for some big breakthrough moment. The simple work prepares you. That's a great point. It all connects. Diligence in the small things.
It surely does.
So here's a provocative thought for you to carry with you as you go about your day, maybe heading home from work or making dinner or facing that pile of laundry. The source puts it plain, and it's the truth of modern life. You will feel overwhelmed again.
It's pretty much guaranteed.
Maybe tomorrow morning, maybe later this afternoon, maybe later this week. It's a guarantee of living in this busy world.
When that happens, when you feel that familiar pressure building up, that fuzzy brain feeling, identify that exact moment, acknowledge it honestly, accept it. Don't fight the feeling of overwhelm itself. And then try reaching for that simple tool.
That question.
Ask yourself, and then do just the next simplest, fastest thing.
Don't try to clear your entire email inbox in one go. Don't try to clean the whole house top to bottom. Don't try to solve world peace or fix every single problem in your life.
No. Just do that one simple, fastest, most immediate task. Make that cup of coffee. Send that one short, quick email you've been dreading. Put away that one item that's out of place. Pick up that one stray toy from the floor. Fold that one towel.
Whatever it is, the absolute simplest next step.
And then observe. Pause for just a second and observe. Observe how accomplishing that one small task feels. See how it builds just a tiny bit of momentum. See how it shifts your mindset, even just a little bit, from paralyzed dread to having taken one step forward.
Witness the effect.
See the undeniable power of this simple, ancient strategy playing out right there in your own life in this complicated modern world.
See how taking that one small step, guided by simple wisdom and just focusing on the immediate action, can start to clear the path ahead, one tiny piece at a time. It's a practice, y'all, a daily discipline that can truly change how you navigate the busyness, the pressure, and the uncertainty of life.
It requires awareness of your state, acceptance of the reality of overwhelm when it hits, and courageous action based on simplicity. And remember, you don't have to figure it all out at once. just the next fastest thing. It's practical wisdom found even in unexpected places to manage the tasks before us and clear the path forward.
Well, we sure appreciate you taking this deep dive with us today. We hope you found some valuable nuggets of truth and practical wisdom in this material, something you can take with you and put into practice right away the next time you feel that overwhelm setting in.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to explore. Hopefully it's a help and encouragement to you out there.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.